just do that? I've never heard of a human that can defeat Gnosis.
It's just something I can do.
A cyborg?
He's a relic from the days when they reanimated the dead.
After my return, I ask that you eliminate the neural memories residing in my brain from my previous life.
He was brought back to life against his will. Once he replaces the rest of his brain, only then will he be legally dead.
Chapter 22, Little Master. Back in the sector where Ariadne disappeared, we see our boy Rubido, or as he goes by now, Junior, or as his subordinates call him,
Little Master.
Little Master.
Little Master, inside his aims, or eggs? I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm gonna say eggs. He starts saying some poetic crap that really just serves to show that he likes to read a lot. And it's a personality trait that really pretty much never gets brought up again except for once in the next game. Anyways, Junior is being supported by Mary and Shelly, the two girls that Gainem rescued, via their giant ship, the Durendal. Shelly tells Junior that she's getting nothing on her readouts, which Junior finds weird because there definitely used to be a planet here, and any catastrophe strong enough to destroy a planet should have left behind some kind of particles. Except if the planet was forcefully nosified, but that's unheard of, so he doesn't even consider it. Junior then heads back to the Durendal, and he flies over to the last known coordinates of the Federation fleet. Meanwhile, Margulis speaks to a member of the subcommittee, who is apparently a UTIC spy. He says that they underestimated Ziggy, as they thought he was just a relic from the past. After ending the call, Margulis then gets a call from Andrew Cherenkov. It's like a spy meeting. He updates him on the situation, then tells him that he managed to secure Momo, as if he had anything to do with it. He also tells him that she's being escorted to the Miltian star system. After telling Andrew that they have already confirmed all the variables, Margulis tells Cherenkov to return to HQ at once. Then he orders his men to get the registration on the Elsa and to track Cherenkov. From behind him, we hear the now adult Albedo talking for the first time, mocking Margulis, telling him to show a little love to his dogs or they might bite him one day. Albedo tells him that he will get Momo himself, as he is more likely to succeed than Margulis' dogs, a statement which prompts the whole crew to glare at him. Then he says one of my favorite lines in the game.
Ah, yes. Feed me your hostility. Pierce me with your hatred.
After telling Margulis that he won't get in his way, as they're working towards the same goal, Albedo leaves on his ES. Pellegrini questions if it's wise to leave something so important to him, showing how distrustful she is of Albedo and his unpredictable self. Back with Junior, he arrives at the location where the Woglinde was attacked and search for any signs of life, but of course they find nothing. Inside the ruins of the Woglinde, Junior finds the remains of a Zohar security ring, the place where they were keeping the Zohar emulator. Suddenly, as Mary and Shelly analyze the ship, UTIC droids teleport in front of them. Mary heads back to the Durendal, and Junior takes on the droids easily, taking them out with his eggs. After Junior destroys them, the ruins of the Woglinde starts getting attacked from an invisible UTIC ship. Junior assumes that this is their way of trying to cover up the evidence, but there's much more to it than that. We'll get to that eventually. Junior makes it out in time to avoid the explosion caused by the UTIC ship attacking the remains of the Woglinde. Now, back in the Durendal, Junior wonders what to do about the ships, but his answer becomes quite clear when the UTIC ships begin attacking him in the Durendal. After activating the shields, Junior shows just what the Durendal can do, as he fires the main cannons, and with one fell swoop, he destroys most of the ships. However, one begins to flee, something that Junior just isn't having. So instead of wasting more ammunition, he shows why the Durendal is shaped like a sword. The Durendal speeds up and they use the Durendal shape to penetrate the enemy's ship, giving them a way inside the ship to attack from the inside. Once inside the enemy ship, Junior and his crew make their way into the bridge. On the way, not much happens. Enemies try to stop him, enemies get killed, and Junior finds images of a battle android that UTIC was developing called Telos. Like I said, nothing important. Anyways, once inside the bridge, Mary plugs herself into the ship's mainframe in order to transmit all data in the ship to Shelly, which is a thing they can do. I guess because they're life recycling variants. Mary compares this ability to how Junior can connect telepathically to Guinan. It's not all that great, cause he constantly needs to be careful of what he's thinking so he doesn't send him the wrong thoughts. As they walk, some UTIC soldiers barge in and begin attacking them, but Rubido makes quick work of them with his revolver ocelot gun skills. But this ends up backfiring because somehow Junior managed to break the cables that Mary was using to collect the data in the ship. Somehow. He was aiming in a completely different direction. How is it Junior's fault? Wouldn't it be the soldiers that? Whatever. Anyways, as a result, all the data was lost. After Junior requests that his subordinates place a trace request with the UMN Administration Bureau in order to trace the UTIC's lifeboats, he heads back to the Durendal empty-handed. By the way, the tracing of these lifeboats is also never brought up again. This is probably a good time to mention how I may have been wrong when I said that Junior chose to halt his cell growth and stay at that age. It seems that just like Albedo can't control his regeneration abilities, otherwise he would just let himself die if he was so scared of being left alone, Junior also can't control his stunned cell growth, so he has to stay this age, which kind of sucks. Which makes me wonder, if that's the case, why did he grow to be older than a baby? Did his powers kick in later? Who knows? Well, this seems to be the current situation Junior finds himself in. Mary and Shelly comment on how Rubido's explosive personality when he's holding a gun could be a case of him overcompensating for his height. I mean, imagine being 26, knowing what your body should be able to do, but being stuck in a 12-year-old's body.
It's a shame. Little Master doesn't have any choice in the matter but to stay that size.
Chapter 23, Cathedral Ship. Back on the Elsa, the group make it to a dock colony for repairs. Shion asks about Cherenkov as he misses dinner again. Hammer mentions that he went out to the colony to which Matthews shows concern since Cherenkov was still wearing his uniform. Apparently, this colony was trashed and raided by Galaxy Federation soldiers during the Milton conflict, as it used to be a Reality nursery and Realians were going crazy during the Milton conflict. It didn't help that one of the Realians in the colony also went crazy. After that, the military occupied the colony and then soon abandoned it, leaving it in terrible conditions. Needless to say, the people who inhabit the colony don't have much love for the military. Because of this, Shion, Ziggy, Chaos Hammer, and Alan go to look for him to make sure he's okay. Then we see Andrew being attacked by a group of thugs in the colony on some kind of alley. Hammer sees this and runs back to tell the others. As Andrew begins to get up, we see a glow on his forehead, like the same that appeared when he got the level 7 personality reconditioning. We don't see what happens, but when Ziggy and the rest arrive at the scene, Cherenkov is no longer there, and all the thugs are on the floor, bloodied and unconscious. Ziggy tells Shion that he's reading heat signatures heading towards the dock, which could be Cherenkov's, so they head back to the ship where Momo has already started healing him. Cherenkov tells them that the thugs started fighting amongst each other, which gave him a window to escape, but let's be honest, that's not what happened. Even Shion is pressing X for doubt.
You got cornered?
Ziggy then asks Momo to help him as he hasn't had his tune-up since fighting in the Pleroma. Here we see how human Ziggy still is as he expresses his self-consciousness about his body when he tells Momo that he doesn't want Shion to work on his tune-up as he feels embarrassed about a young woman working on him and seeing his patchwork mechanical body. But he's okay with Momo, not because he doesn't see her as a human, but because of the purity of her heart, as he says.
And not because I see you as an object.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
We later see Cherenkov walking down a hall in the Elsa, and he seems to be having a hard time staying on his feet as he has a flashback of the Gnosis that grabbed him. He injects himself with some medicine and goes to his bedroom as the Elsa leaves the dog colony. However, soon after, he begins having nightmares and more flashbacks. When he gets up to get something to drink, we see his symptoms worsen as he grabs his arm in pain and falls to the ground. Then he notices that he's becoming transparent, like a Gnosis. What we're seeing here is the early effects of Gnosification. Remember, I said that people that don't turn to salt end up nosifying. As he tries to inject himself with more of that medicine, it falls out of his hand and he is left laying there in pain alone. Meanwhile, Xian, who fell asleep on a couch, is called by Nephilim in her dream. Inside her dreams, Xian is back at that same graveyard as before, but Nephilim actually talks to her and tells her that it may already be too late. She tends to speak in vagaries and in cryptic manners, but long story short, she's telling Xian that it's already too late for Cherenkov, and that it's possible that before he dies, Xian may at least be able to understand him, which will, at the very least, bring him some comfort. Of course, Xian wakes up not knowing what the fuck Nephilim was talking about. After Xian wakes up, the Elsa begins shaking and Xian runs to the bridge to see what's happening. According to Cosmos, something is trying to come into contact with the ship from outside of the UMN column, outside of hyperspace, which, if it persists, will force the ship out of hyperspace. Soon after she says that exact thing happens. The whole ship is dragged out of hyperspace, and what they find is a ton of Gnosis amassed around a gigantic Gnosis in front of them. This is the cathedral ship. This is the planet Ariadne and its Gnosis form. Cosmos uses her ultra wide range Hilbert effect and turns all the Gnosis solid. The range of her Hilbert effect waves leaving Momo astonished, but doing this had the unfortunate effect that now the cathedral ship has a gravity field and they're being pulled into it. When the group wakes up, they find themselves inside the cathedral ship Gnosis. Remember, even though it may be called a ship, it's actually a Gnosis, a planet-sized Gnosis. After Cosmos confirms this, she tells him that they're picking up signals from the Elsa 10 kilometers away, along with signs of the Zohar emulator that was taken by Gnosis from the Woglinde. Worried about the Elsa, Alan, and the others, they all decide their best choice is to continue forward. We later see Cherenkov trapped someplace different inside the same Gnosis, wandering around as he starts having flashbacks of, well, pretty much everything I've told you about his past at the beginning of Act 3. This is actually when we're supposed to learn about his past, but as always, I decided to give you the information in chronological order, so there isn't much to say here. However, it's worth mentioning that he realizes this is Ariadne, as he sees the same towers in the distance that were scattered all over Ariadne's surface. We cut shortly to Junior and his crew in the Durendal as the rest of the Zohar emulators, which they hold in quarantine inside the Durendal, start resonating with the emulator inside the cathedral ship. This resonance sends a signal to the ship, so they decide to track the signal to find out what is causing this. Back with Xian and the rest, as they walk down some gooey roads, they begin to speculate what the ship could be. They know they're inside a Gnosis, but they find it weird that so much looks man-made, and that the stuff that looks man-made looks like it's part of the Gnosis itself. They haven't figured out that this is Ariadne. Suddenly, Xian has a vision of Nephilim telling her that she's almost out of time. After more flashbacks from Cherenkov that I already went over, Xian and the rest arrive at a giant building shaped like a Zohar. Cosmos states that the last known location of the Elsa is in the building in front of them, 300 meters below them. So they head inside. Inside the building, they find the Zohar emulator that was on the Woglinde. This seems to really catch Cosmos' attention as she walks closer to it, disobeying Xian's instructions to stop. As Cosmos confirms that there is a 98.9998%
probability
that this is the same emulator on the Woglinde, Xian is surprised as she has been hearing it being called the Zohar this whole time, not the Zohar emulator. So she asks if there's a real Zohar somewhere. Xian doesn't really know anything about the Zohar or the Zohar emulators, which makes Xian wonder how Cosmos knows all about them. Cherenkov then appears walking up some stairs and he berates Xion for not knowing anything about the Zohar or the emulators, even though she created Cosmos. As Xion gets close to him, we see that Cherenkov is now fully transparent like a Gnosis. As he walks towards the emulator, he reveals that he was the one behind the disappearance of Ariadne, even though nobody asked. As he begins explaining how the Woglinda's real mission was always the recovery of the emulator and that the military and Vector were fooled, he begins backing up in fear from things nobody else can see, including us. Then these weird particles start flowing from the emulator onto Cherenkov as he's lifted from the ground. Cosmos, after scanning the particles, confirms that scans for photons, leptons, hadrons, and gravitons have all come up negative, which pretty much means they don't exist, or they shouldn't. Cherenkov then begins glowing as he floats in front of the emulator, and before Xion and the rest, Cherenkov is turned into a Gnosis. A sight which reminds Ziggy of the time that Voyager became a testament in front of the Zohar on Mictum. The Gnosis, called Gargoyle, lands on the floor and attacks the group, forcing them to fight back. But after a truly difficult battle, the group defeat the Gnosified Cherenkov. And Xion starts seeing the memories of Cherenkov, helping her understand him better. She learns about his personality reconditioning, his allegiance to Margulis, even though she has no idea who Margulis is, and how this feeling of purpose made him feel happiness for once. Then she is sent to an area inside Cherenkov's subconscious where he speaks to her directly. Here he tells her about the Zohar conflict and how he was created to fight in a war but arrived too late, which left him without purpose. The same stuff I told you at the beginning of Act 2. He explained how he believed the whole world had rejected him and how Margulis made him feel needed, made him feel like he had a place in the world. However, he now understands that he was the one who was rejecting the world, not the other way around. Then he disappears as his very existence fades out. As Xion returns to the real world, she breaks down in tears, realizing what they have just done. They didn't just kill a Gnosis, they killed Andrew Cherenkov. And it hit her even harder because being in his subconscious, she was able to not only understand him on a more intimate level, but she actually felt his emotions. Chaos tries to comfort her while she tries to understand what happened and convinces her to get up as he tries to get her mind off of her concerns of them becoming a Gnosis too. Soon after Xion gets up, the cathedral ship Gnosis begins to disappear for some reason. As it disappears, gravity fades as they begin being exposed to the vacuum of space. Before the Gnosis completely disappears, however, Matthews finds them and the Elsa flies in and saves them. However, it's out of the frying pan and into the fire, as all the other smaller Gnosis are still around and there is no way the Elsa can even begin to take them all on. As the Elsa tries to elude them, shots are fired from somewhere which quickly kill the Gnosis, tailing the Elsa. These shots came from the Durendal. It's your boy Junior.
You got it!
Junior commands all guns to target the enemy and cuts a path for the Elsa, and the Durendal unleashes its payload, destroying many Gnosis in what looks like a disco ball of lasers. However, as many as they managed to kill, they still didn't get all of them, and they're running low on ammunition after that fight they had with Utic. As a new group of Gnosis begins tailing the Elsa, Cosmos is seen opening the hatch in the Elsa, leading out into space. Hammer gets Cosmos on the monitor and Xion demands that she gets back inside, as even she can't destroy that many Gnosis. But Xion isn't aware of the monster she created. Cosmos, in an unusually human and soothing voice, asks Xion,
Xion, will feeling pain make me complete?
As she opens her eyes, we see that they are bright blue instead of her usual red. This is my favorite phenomena of the Xenosaga series. It's blue-eyed Cosmos. It's essentially what happens anytime Xion is in mortal danger. Mary's consciousness takes over Cosmos. In this state, Cosmos acts more human and is unbelievably powerful. But it only lasts for a short period, as Mary's consciousness can't fully awaken until she is joined with her original body. Anyways, Xion can't see her blue eyes as she has her back turned away from her. and she couldn't hear her question as the air was too thin for her voice to carry, so Xian has no idea about this second personality of hers. Once Cosmos makes it to the top of the Elsef, she faces the Gnosis. As Cosmos prepares her attack, the emulators inside the Durendal begin emitting waves to an external source at even stronger frequencies than before. So much so that the containers they're in, which were made to suppress their waves, can no longer suppress them. This external source is Cosmos. That's because Cosmos' power comes from Udu, and she uses the Zohar emulators as a medium to gather Udu's waves, and man is she about to use a lot of power. Junior, not knowing what's happening, only knowing that the emulators are acting up, tries to block the signals, but Cosmos has already gathered all the energy she needs. As the Gnosis approach, she opens a cannon in her stomach, and her whole torso becomes some kind of cannon that shoots out a massive ray of energy. However, instead of destroying the Gnosis, Cosmos absorbs the Gnosis. This is the same thing that Proto-Merkaba does when it links with the Song of Nephilim. After this, Cosmos returns to her normal red-eye form. Everyone inside the ship is left speechless. Even Xian and Alan, who worked on creating Cosmos, have no idea what they just witnessed. Junior then contacts Matthews, and while he talks, Xian begins to wonder if this is Kevin's hand at work, as this is not the Cosmos that she built. Margulis is informed of Cherenkov's death after his tracker signal is lost. This is one of the only times we ever see Margulis ever being fazed by anything.
I see.